Hello and welcome back to our study of Peninei Halacha. The teachings of Rabbi Eliezer Melamed, Shlita. We find ourselves on a Thursday, Yom Chamishi, getting ready for Shabbos Kodesh. Please continue davening for Chalei Tzva Gana Yisrael, Refuah Shalom L'chol Petzuei Yisrael, and a safe return of our hostages. Our learning is dedicated in memory of Sarah and Daniel Shimon ben Harav Duram V'Sheli Hasham Yakum Domo. The next chapter is Hakorei. Korim b'Torah uv'ta'amim. When one reads Torah, or we use the word lane, and that's why they use the word lane, you have to do it with what's known as the ta'amei hamikra, or what we call trup, or the notes. So this is already a Mesorah that is given down from Halacha Moshe Sinai, and these are not just musical notes, but they also explain punctuation, emphasis on certain points of the reading. And if one has ever seen the Sefer Torah up close, you will see that the trup, the cantillation notes, are not found, they're not written inside the scroll. So therefore, a Ba'al Keriah or a Ba'al Keriah, depending on how you want to call it, but the Korei, the one who's reading, the laner, has to know by heart, of course, what the trup notes are. Let's say someone doesn't know how to lane, or someone who's not prepared. So someone can feed it to the Ba'al Keriah, so to speak. So someone can read it out of a chumash that has the notes in them, and he can whisper them to the Korei. And this way, the laner will be able to do so accordingly. And if there's no one that could read with the trup, let's say sidei mitzvah sakriya b'Torah below tamim, then b'di evid, worst case scenario, you could read it without the trup. Tzorch l'daktek b'kriyas Torah, so one has to be very careful when reading the words of the Torah. V'makori Torah b'ksiv b'ofen shemashmo semel hishtanta, and if a person makes a reading mistake in such a way that it'll change the meaning of the word, alav lachzor l'kori kel chasa, then you have to go back, and that's why you'll often hear people making corrections. It's one of the Jews' favorite thing to do, is to correct other Jews, and to correct and make sure the word is read properly. And if there is a mistake that does not change the meaning, then you don't have to go back. So this is where it gets tricky, because those who make corrections have to know which corrections to make. He actually writes here in the note, hichsir milah, if, let's say, you left out a word, even if you didn't change the meaning, let's say left out the word et, so then you still have to go back. And let's say you left out a letter, something like that, then there's a whole question about it. He said Aaron instead of Aharon is the example that he gives. So these are all instances in which we have to know when to correct, when not to correct. So I'll give you an example when not to correct. So if you have a double segel and it appears at the end of a sentence, let's say added a snachta or a sof pasuk, so the word eretz becomes aretz. So let's say the pasuk ends al haaretz and the person said al haeretz, so that is not a mistake that needs to be corrected, in my opinion, because it does not change the meaning of the word. It's a grammatical thing. So just as an example, let's continue with the text. Betchila nagu shekol ola hayakori ba'asma b'Torah. So at first, everyone who was called to the Torah used to read his own aliyah. And this way, everybody would prepare the reading of the Torah. Or they would know in advance. The Gabbai would tell them and say, listen, you're going to have Shlishi this week, you're going to have Revi, so you have to know how to lane it. And many places in Yemenite communities do this as well. Ulam but now already the accepted custom and practice is that we have what's known as a Ba'al Keriah or a Ba'al Keriah who reads on behalf of everyone. Imagine that. If today, everybody who wants to have an aliyah, if you were told that you have to actually lane your aliyah, then they wouldn't want an aliyah so much anymore. The person who receives the aliyah makes a bracha before the reading and after. The chazan korei avuro b'Torah, and the chazan reads it on his behalf from the scroll. And the reason why we have this practice is, again, we don't want to embarrass anybody that doesn't know how to lane. They'll say, why don't you ever get an aliyah? So I don't know how to read it. So therefore, everybody has the ability to get an aliyah. Or perhaps even worse than someone who doesn't know is someone who thinks he knows, but doesn't really know. And he's going to get up there and read it incorrectly. And then what's going to happen? The gabbai knows this, and the gabbai is not going to call them for an aliyah. So therefore, in order that everyone should be on the same level playing field and no one gets embarrassed, so therefore we have a Ba'al Keriah and everyone gets an aliyah. They just have to recite the blessings. And this is our practice today. So getting an aliyah is important, not as important as Hakba and Galila as we saw yesterday, but nonetheless, this is the evolution of the procedure that we have today. And the reason why it's called aliyah is because you're ole la Torah. You go up to the Torah, and everything that we do for the Torah is hopefully an aliyah. And we should always be going up in every Torah aspect of our lives. So thank you so much for listening today. Continue davening for Chali Tzvah Yisrael, for Shalom L'chol Petzui Yisrael, safe return of our hostages, dedicated to learning in memory of Seren Daniel Shimon or of Durham Michelle Shem Damo. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you here next time.